don't marry someone from outside your tribe is not about only marrying people who look like you or have the same nationality. You see, the first time the subject comes up is in Genesis 24, when Abraham looks for a wife for his chosen son. Now, the context of this is important because if you remember, Abraham was chosen by God, and God said that through you all nations will be blessed. God is calling Abraham and the descendants of Abraham to a higher calling, to be a blessing, a good thing to others. And therefore, with this higher calling, Abraham is being very specific in the type of partner he's looking for his son. In Genesis 24, Abraham is super old, and he asks his servant, go and get a wife for my son, but do not go back to my land that I came from. Do not go back to Canaan. Do not find a wife who's a Canaanite. Find a wife who comes from my family's tribe. Why was Abraham so anti the Canaanites? Remember that Abraham lived in Canaan for most of his life. He knew the people of Canaan. And if we go back to Genesis 9, we know that the people of Canaan come from the line of Ham. Ham was Noah's son, and he did something very perverted to his father. What comes with each generation is a multiplication of that perversion, such that we get the manifestation of Sodom and Gomorrah, the city of perversion. Very contrary to what Isaac was being called to do, live a pure life with God. So what Abraham is saying is, don't combine yourself for life with someone that has completely opposing values to you. The Bible says a house divided will not stand. If one person values self-pleasure and self-service, whereas the other person will sacrifice everything for God, those two people are not going to be a good match. A second reason we can get from Genesis is that based on what Noah said in Genesis 9, the Canaanites were supposed to serve the descendants of Shem. Abraham is a descendant from Shem, and so is Isaac. Therefore, if he found a wife from the Canaanites, he would effectively be marrying someone who is supposed to serve him, and serve him not in the way that, two people serve each other in a marriage, but essentially be subordinate to him. And why doesn't this work? You see, if we go all the way back to the beginning, when God first created marriage, right, men and women coming together, he made Eve to be comparable to Adam, i.e. a partner that can help him fulfill what God has tasked him to do. And therefore Eve had an equivalent mindset, an equivalent view of the world, a way that she tackled the world that was comparable, was helpful to Adam. But if you have a king and a servant, their mindsets are too far apart. One of them, the king, will look at things and see problems and say, how do I solve this? What is the way through it? Whereas the servant might have a mindset that's completely different. Mindset that this is beyond my capabilities. Someone come fix this for me. This challenge is beyond me. So you have one person that's constantly playing Bob the Builder and the other person that's constantly playing damsel in distress. One of them will die trying to constantly save the other, and the other will die because they're getting dragged along in this fight that they're not prepared for. The mindset needs to be fit for purpose, fit for the joint purpose. And we can see this in Rebecca, at least at first, before things get crazy. See, Rebecca at first illustrates the same spirit as Abraham. When she was first encountered, she was so generous and giving and helpful to the servant who visited. Before even knowing who had sent the servant, she fed his camels and watered his camels and helped him beyond what he asked for. She showed a generosity of spirit. Furthermore, similar to Abraham, when asked, will you leave your father's house? Will you go to this unknown land? Abraham said, I will go, and Rebecca said, I will go. Both of them have an obedient type of faith. And we see this play out in their marriage because when they struggle to have a baby, Isaac goes to God and he asks God, help us have this baby. And when she's pregnant and these twins are now fighting in her womb and she thinks something's wrong, Rebecca goes to God. When a crisis comes, they both go to God. It's the same mentality. Marrying within the tribe isn't about your nationality or ethnicity. It's about who you are on an individual basis and whether you match. But that's not a guarantee for success. What we know in the next chapter, this marriage that started off strong and lovely and admirable turns into one of deceit. Once grown children and inheritance and favoritism mixes all of this up. But we'll cover that tomorrow.